Hello and welcome to BharatShakti.in. I'm Brigadier Chatterjee. We're going to be talking about France today. We're going to be talking about Bastille Day, and we're going to be talking of India-France cooperation. How does it go further, especially with this visit of our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, to France? So, to go through this entire exercise, I have with me our editor-in-chief, Nitin Gokhale. Nitin, welcome to your own home.
Thanks, Brigadier Chatterjee. In fact, since I'm speaking to you from Paris, I must say that there is the Bastille Day, which is going to be on the 14th, which is celebrated on the 14th in France, is of course always anticipated and is seen like in India, Independence Day or Republic Day. It's a celebration of the French Republic, and therefore people are already getting into the holiday mode in a way and a celebratory mode. From what I can see on the streets, there are lots of foreigners visiting Paris at this time of the year, and the streets are absolutely full and brimming with tourists as well as locals.
Well, there's our contingent also. They want to talk about them, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force contingent.
Yeah, in fact, they have been practicing on the Champs-Élysées for the Western Day March Past, which is one of the rare honors given to the Indian military. So there is a tri-service contingent which has been sort of in Paris for almost 4 or 5 days now, practicing how to march together with the French military and the French bands. In fact, there is a component of an Indian musical band, Indian military musical band also, which is part of the contingent. But more than that, I think what symbolizes a very deep India-France defense relationship is the four Rafales from of the Indian Air Force, which who will join the fly past on Bastille Day with the French Air Force, which is again a rare honor. Nobody foreign air forces don't fly on their national day of any country. But because Rafale is a French product, it's a French fighter jet which India bought 5 years, 6 years ago. Therefore, they've been given this rare honor. So they have also been practicing with their French counterparts here in Paris on the
Right,
sky above Paris. Yeah, sure.
uh, right. Let's get down to a little more of hard business, I'll call it. And since you're talking about Rafale, everybody's looking forward to that 26 Rafale deal progressing for Indian aircraft carriers. So, where do you see it going in this visit of Mr. Modi?
Well, I think it is very clear from the developments back home in India that the Navy has got its way. Navy has recommended procuring Rafale Marine fighter jets for INS Vikrant, the indigenously built second aircraft carrier that the Indian Navy has. Going by what has happened in the Defense Procurement Board, where the sanction or the clearance was given to procure these 26 Rafale Marines. I believe as we speak, or maybe in some hours, the Defense Acquisition Council will also clear the proposal to buy Rafale Marines for the Indian Navy. And therefore, I expect a joint statement or the declaration of the Indian intent to buy Rafale Marines after Prime Minister Modi has met President Macron, in his delegation level and one-on-one talks. So the joint statement might have this declaration going forward. It looks like Rafale Marines are going to be procured for the Indian Navy finally.
Right, I think everybody's looking forward to some sort of a progress. And if you say it will come up possibly in the joint statement, that's a very good statement by itself. The next issue that I have is the Scorpions, the submarines I'm talking about, Project 75. We've done with those 6 submarines, and we're thinking of going in for another 3 before we decide on anything further as far as the submarines are concerned. So, how do you see this project shaping up during this visit? Is it going to get a little bit of a boost?
I think it is now evident that both the Indian Navy and the government and the naval group have managed to come to a understanding that 3 follow-on submarine orders can be placed. 6 of those submarines have already been manufactured in Mazgaon docks in Mumbai. Probably the 3 will allow the resident expertise in the Mazgaon docks and the naval group to use that resident expertise which is there. It will not wither away. And therefore, I think even that part of the defense deal should come through by tomorrow evening. That's Friday evening is the expectation.
Now, I do agree with you that resident expertise is very important that we hold on to it. Let me go into fighter jet engines now. We're aware that possibly all the engines required for the light combat aircraft, including the Mark II hereafter, will possibly go to General Electric. But the field is as yet open as far as AMCA is concerned. I'm talking about the advanced next generation aircraft that we are going to produce. So do you see a role for Safran and a role for Prantha?
There is a lot of discussion, I know, around the possibility of co-producing, co-designing and co-producing a fresh jet engine for the advanced medium combat aircraft, which is likely to see induction in mid-2030s into the Indian Air Force is what the plans are. And there, I think Safran has pitched its proposal that it will co-produce and co-design with an Indian entity in India to give India sovereignty, as they call it, or full control over the technology instead of just doing the manufacturing transfer of technology as GE has done in the case of Mark II. That proposal is on the table, but according to what Safran sources and the aerospace professionals are saying, it is a competitive proposal. But I think Indian government is taking its time to come to conclusion about what should be done about getting a Safran engine or a fresh engine for AMCA. Of course, many considerations will come into it. I don't think the discussion is going to be concluded before the Prime Minister arrives in a couple of hours. And therefore, I don't see that being a final decision on that Safran jet engine for the Indian advanced medium combat aircraft. Yeah, advanced medium combat aircraft.
Nitin, do you think the Indians will put all the eggs in one basket and go for GE's engine also for AMCA? Wouldn't it be more rational to expect them to split this into some to the Americans and some to the French?
I think it makes eminent sense, and going by what the French in the France-India relationship has been, both countries value their strategic autonomy. Both countries have independent approach to foreign policy. And if you go back to just 20 years, France has been the outlier, even with not joining or not supporting in American invasion in Iraq, or sort of it always has followed independent foreign policy. So has India, and therefore both have very deep strategic convergence on many issues. France has been India's steadfast supporter in the UN Security Council, continues to be so. And therefore, I think it makes sense to go for a fresh engine with Safran technology and, of course, Indian partnership there. But as I said, it's too early to predict that. However, there is a progress. There is likely to be announcement of going ahead with a Safran helicopter engine for
yes, that
yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, that is what I was going to ask you. What do you feel about the helicopter engine? Which way will it go as far as the Indian multi-role helicopter is concerned, IMRH?
I think that discussion is more or less concluded. In any case, there was the memorandum of understanding that was signed last year between Safra and HAL, the Nissan Aeronautics Limited, which, any case, it's a MOU between two entities, and governments are not involved there. But obviously, governments are backing it. Both governments are backing it. And it makes sense because one of the better performing divisions of HAL has been the helicopter division, and therefore it needs stronger, a larger engine or a more powerful engine for future a 13-ton Indian medium helicopter, Indian multi-role helicopter that HAL is planning for the Indian Armed Forces. I think that announcement should come through from what one hears from both the French side as well as the Indian side, and I think that should be one of the takeaways from the joint statement.
Well, that will be very major takeaway. Let's talk a little bit about the civil nuclear space now. The Jaipur plant has been lying there. Well, do you see the cooperation really gathering a little pace as we go on?
Yes, I think that has been a bit of a problem there. In both sides have had issues on the Jaipur civil, I mean, the nuclear plant in Maharashtra. But I think again, a lot of differences have been narrowed down. A lot of convergence has happened, and there is an expectation that the old French connection to India's civil nuclear program would be revived through this project, and that would be another outcome, a positive outcome, or a major takeaway from the joint statement is what the buzz is. We'll have to wait for that. As I said, in a couple of hours, Prime Minister Modi and his delegation will land here. He's bringing in many CEOs from the Indian side. There's going to be a meeting between different industry leaders from both sides. And that's where I think many deals will be either discussed or decided over the next 24 hours or so is the expectation.
Right. A little bit about 5G, 6G. You find, are there any notes around which tend to make you believe that we'll go forward with more cooperation?
Well, no, there will be huge number of agreements, so I can't really second guess that. But one of the things that I wanted to focus on is how France and India have worked together on the Indian Ocean part of it, or the Indian Ocean strategy that both countries want to implement, either jointly or individually. And that's where I think the navies will be cooperating very well with each other. And I think both countries will have a lot of convergence.
Oh, that's the interesting. If we can get together more in the Indian Ocean region, then our security interests are also looked after. Right. I think, Nitin, we'll call it off on that until there's something that you feel is quite important and you want to put across.
No, just one last thought that India-France relationship is like no other. It is deep, it is strategic, and it comes without strings attached on either side. That's a win-win for both sides, and I think that's where we have to look out for outcomes which are positive and outcomes which are long-term projections that both sides are doing. France considers itself an Indian Ocean power. India, of course, is an Indian Ocean power. So there might be some areas of competition, some areas of cooperation, and both countries realize that Indo-Pacific, of which Indian Ocean is an important part, must be concentrated upon, must be focused upon. If the Chinese inroads into the Indo-Pacific, and especially Indian Ocean, have to be counterbalanced. And that's where I think the cooperation is going to be. Behind the scenes, there may not be very clear outcomes stated in the joint statements, but my sense is that is one of the key takeaways in the discussions that will happen behind closed doors. But many more things to look forward to over the next 24 hours.
Thank you, Nitin. I think that's very concisely put across exactly where the relationship stands now and ought to go tomorrow. And I'm sure it'll go that same path that you're talking about. There will be contradictions and there will be points of convergence, and we'll have to negotiate between them and find the best course for all of us. Thanks again for joining us.
Pleasure, and thank you.